All right, so we're live now. Hi, I'm Brandy Bixler. I'm a technology teacher in Colorado. I work in Aurora. I teach kindergarten through 8th grade. Before I was teaching technology, I was a technology coach for the district, and we thought we'd share the SAMR model with you. I'm here with Renee Sitlow, and she's a technology coordinator in Anaheim, California, and we're both excited to share today. We're doing this webinar is kind of in honor of Digital Learning Day, which is going to happen on March 13th. And the purpose for Digital Learning Day is really to highlight how teaching and learning can be improved with technology. And there's a website that we've posted on the presentation, and the presentation is on the events page if you want to click on the live links or follow along with us. So if you go to this website and you want to register your event with them, there's lots of ideas for doing that. There's also lots of people sharing ideas and their learning process. So if you're interested in Digital Learning Day, that is the website. Oh, and I should also mention we're with the Great Public Schools Network with NEA, and this is part of our facilitator group. We both work as a facilitator for Great Public Schools. And part of our work as a facilitator is providing these webinars for the public.
So one of the models we look at for effective technology implementation is the SAMR model. And this was developed by this gentleman, Dr. Rubin, and it talks about, or it is a model for effective technology implementation. And what we want to see is we want to see technology that's really going to transform the way that teaching and learning occur. So what he came up with was the SAMR model, which the S stands for substitution. And this was when technology there's a substitutes with really no functional change in the assignment. Augmentation is where technology, there's a slight improvement, but that technology has really not improved the quality of that instruction or assignment for the students. So what we want to do, and oftentimes what I've seen is that technology, when we implement it, we just put technology in the hands of teachers without adequate training or professional development that is ongoing, that the technology is at the substitution and augmentation level. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we're moving to this transformation area, which is teaching above the line is what it's called, and that is modifying, where technology allows for significant task redesign. So students are developing videos and they're doing things that they normally couldn't do without the use of technology. And then redefinition. Technology allows for the creation of new tasks that were previously inconceivable, and that is maybe collaborating different areas that they would not be able to do without the use of technology. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at each one of these areas, and we're going to provide you with some examples of that. One of the things we want to do when we teach a lesson, if we're at the substitution level, we want to ask ourselves, what change could I make to maybe bring it up just one level to the augmentation level in my lesson. So as you develop your lessons, it's a good reflection when you get done to see how you can bring your assignment or your lesson up a level. So we're going to first look now at the substitution level.
All right, the previous slide had a video on it. If you want to look into the SAMR model more in depth, you can click on the link for this presentation and access that video. But right now I'm going to talk about substitution. So substitution is the bottom rung of this SAMR model, and I don't want to put judgment on it because I don't think any of these are necessarily good or bad, and I think there's a place for each of these. So substitution can actually be appropriate for certain tasks, and it's also a great entry point for teachers who are new to integrating technology. So think of substitution as you would like your skills block maybe in your classroom, where there are some things you have to do. You have to learn your multiplication tables. So maybe doing flashcards on an iPad is not a bad thing if that's where you're at in your classroom lessons. But you do want to move past substitution and get higher and spend less time on substitution than the other ones. Some examples of substitution used in the classroom. Um, are one is to scan a worksheet and just share a digital copy with your students using the iPad and maybe an app like Notability or NoteShelf. So this is, it's a great way to streamline the process for teachers if they want to have digital copies and portfolios for students. So there might be benefits to doing this if you're doing a worksheet in your class anyway. Maybe you want digital copies of student work. So doing it this way is not a bad thing. And if you haven't used Notability, Notability is a really great app. If you click on the picture, it will take you to, if you're looking at the presentation and you click on the picture of this, it should take you to the Notability website and you can look and see what's on there. But it's my favorite note-taking app. The second example is using a digital device instead of a book. Again, it's a great substitution. You don't have a backpack full of textbooks to carry around. They're accessible. So even if all you're doing is reading a book on a digital device, you're using technology in a really beneficial way. All right, now we're going to move on to augmentation.
Okay, in augmentation, technology, there's some functional improvement in that lesson. And these are students, maybe examples of those of augmentation is when students are word processing and they have access to the dictionary feature. They can spell check. And so there's been some functional improvement with that, with the technology, but it hasn't drastically changed. Some examples of the augmentation level is using bookmarking and notebooking features in an e-reader. So there's some, there's a benefit to that, and of using those notebooking features in an e-reader such as Kindle or a Nook. And also the second example we have is using a graphic organizer. There's a lot of them online, maybe Google Documents, using Google Documents, and then having students share their notes with one another in the classroom. So there's really, at that time, there's really been a functional improvement in that assignment than just taking your notes. Same assignment, students taking notes individually, but then collaborating with some of their classmates, maybe giving feedback on the notes or sharing them with one another. So augmentation, it's one level up on that SAMR model ladder.
All right, next on the ladder is modification. And in modification, you're actually getting to redesign your task. And it happens when students and teachers become more fluent with digital tools. I think that when you're using substitution and augmentation, the learning curve is still pretty high most of the time for students and teachers using the technology, or maybe it's just the teacher, maybe it's just the students, but I think that you do have to maybe start there. And then once you get really fluent with the technology and you know what's available, then that's when you're starting to think of new ways to use it and how it fits in with your current practice, and the doors start to open for you. So one of the ways you can modify lessons is by doing something like Logster, and using it as an assessment. So instead of doing a traditional, paper and pencil test, or maybe even I see a lot of people doing book projects on pieces of cardboard and they're shared up on the wall and stuff. Glogster is something that is shared with the world. It's collaborative. Students can work together on it, and you can use it as an assessment. You can give them a rubric for it, and it's just a new way to consider, doing projects and doing assessments that has 21st century features in it. So you're talking about multimedia, different modalities of sharing. So it's not just writing an essay or writing a question, but you're also able to maybe take a video of yourself talking about a subject, or doing a little tutorial, or taking some photographs and sharing them. And it's not just your teacher who sees it anymore. Now it's posted on the Glogster EDU website, and your classmates can see it, and other teachers can see it, and your grandparents can see it. And it's just taking it up to that next step. One thing I do want to qualify on Glogster is there's a Glogster and there's a Glogster EDU. They're both fun, and they both have the same features, but the Glogster that's not EDU might have some inappropriate things on it depending on what grade level you're working with. So I really would encourage you to check out Glogster EDU. If you click on the picture, it will take you to the website and you can sign up. It's free, and it's one of my favorite. It's been around for a long time, but it's still one of my favorite standby tools for student projects. The other example is developing a wiki with students and having students collaborate on creating a wiki. Maybe they're doing a research project and they're putting their information up on this wiki. Wiki Spaces is a really popular one, or you might have something like Haiku in your school district where the wiki is built into the learning management system that you're using. And those are really good spaces for students to collaborate and work together, either on note-taking or on a project. So now we're working in redefinition.
Okay, redefinition is when technology allows for the creation of new tasks that previously couldn't have been done without the use of technology. And so it's really, what I love about technology is the ability for our students and our teachers to be able to collaborate across district lines, across class lines, between classes, and then around the world. And technology really gives us the ability to do that. With only small changes in our assignments, we can really open up the world, that communication and collaboration with our students. Some examples of redefinition are when blogging. Weebly is a great website where students can showcase their work. We have Kids Blog and Blogger where students can they can blog about their their lessons, and then have a global audience. So it's a great way for students to share what they're learning, to be able to with the world. And other ones are things like Google Sites. And if you're a Google district, you have Google Sites, you can use Google Sites and have students share their work that way also. The second example we have is, students really being able to, there are so many, Google Education, I love Google, but it has so many examples or opportunities for our students to be able to share and participate in global areas and spaces with other students. And one of the opportunities that Google has come up with just in the last week this has come out, is the new 2015 Global Science Fair. And this is in conjunction with National Geographic, Legos, and some of these other science organizations, education organizations, where students can really participate in a science fair, but instead of the old model of having a board and having a science fair where we all can come and look at their projects, this is a global audience, and they're looking at real-world problems, having solutions to them, or developing solutions to those problems, and then being in a worldwide competition. So there's a link there to the Global Online Science Fair if you're interested. And there's a lot of opportunities for our students to really collaborate across state lines and across nations around the world for our students. So it really opens up the world for our students in many ways.
All right, so that's kind of the conclusion of our presentation. But I wanted to remind you that if you're interested in having really deep discussions about this and sharing how you use it and also seeing other examples of great technology use, to make sure you log into the Great Public Schools website. It's through the NEA, and it really is a great collaborative space for teachers, and there's wonderful resources and lessons on there. And if you want to check out the high school technology group or the flipped learning group, those are the two groups that we manage, but there's also an elementary technology group and a middle school technology group, and the facilitators there are also, really good, and they can answer questions or, encourage dialogue, and would love to see some of your resources and your sharing put up there also. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.